The sands of the arena clung to Kyrus like a second skin, a gritty reminder of the life he desperately fought to escape. He was a gladiator, once a scholar, now a butcher for the amusement of Emperor Valerius, a tyrant whose cruelty was as vast as his empire. Kyrus had tasted freedom, just a sliver, after leading a revolt that nearly toppled Valerius, but the rebellion was crushed, its leaders executed, and Kyrus, deemed too valuable to kill, was condemned to the arena. Each victory was a step further from the executioner's block, but also a step deeper into the abyss of violence. These were the memories he clung to, the embers of his former life that fueled his rage and kept him alive. Apa. His opportunity came during a particularly brutal gladiatorial contest. A sandstorm, a raging beast whipped up by the capricious gods, descended upon the arena, blinding the combatants and scattering the crowd. Chaos reigned. Kyrus, seizing his chance, used the confusion to slip away, his heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped bird. He navigated the swirling sand, guided by instinct and a desperate hope. He had to reach the Whispering Library. The Whispering Library was a legend, a myth whispered among scholars and rebels. It was said to be a vast repository of forbidden knowledge, hidden away centuries ago to protect it from those who would misuse its power. Some claimed it contained the secrets of forgotten empires, the formulas for unimaginable weapons, and the histories that Valerius had desperately tried to erase. It was a fool's errand, many said, a ghost story to comfort the oppressed. But Kyrus believed. The Forgotten Quarter was a festering wound on the face of the city, a maze of crumbling buildings and shadowy alleys, inhabited by beggars, thieves, and those who had fallen from grace. It was a place where the law held no sway, and survival was a daily struggle. Kyrus, disguised in the tattered rags of a beggar, moved through the quarter like a ghost, his eyes constantly scanning for danger. He knew Valerius wouldn't let him escape so easily. The Emperor's hounds, the Imperial Guard, would be scouring the city, their eyes sharp, their blades sharper. The air grew heavy with the scent of mildew and forgotten things as he descended into the darkness. The tunnels were a treacherous network of crumbling brick and stagnant water, home to rats and other unseen creatures. Kyrus pressed on, his hand resting on the hilt of the gladius he had managed to salvage, his senses heightened. He was not alone, he could feel it. He wasn't wrong. A guttural growl echoed from the darkness ahead. Two figures emerged, their eyes gleaming in the dim light. Mutated hounds, their bodies twisted and augmented with crude metal implants, the Emperor's favored trackers. He was a warrior, but he was also exhausted, wounded, and outnumbered. He lunged forward, his blade a blur of motion. He took down one hound with a swift strike to the throat, but the other lunged, its metal teeth tearing through his arm. Pain shot through him, but he ignored it, focusing on the fight. He dodged the hound's attack, his foot catching on a loose brick. He stumbled, falling to the ground. The hound was upon him, its jaws open wide. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a young woman, no older than 20, her face hidden behind a makeshift mask. She struck the hound twice, once in the eye and once in the throat, sending it crashing to the ground. She turned to Kyrus, her eyes visible through the mask's openings, filled with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice a low growl. "I am Kyrus," he said, struggling to his feet. "I seek the Whispering Library." She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Follow me. I am Lyra. I know the way." Lyra led him deeper into the tunnels, her movements sure and swift. She explained that she was a scavenger, living in the tunnels, surviving by her wits. Kyrus's arrival, his desperate quest, had piqued her interest. She saw in him a flicker of hope, a chance to escape the squalor of her existence. They journeyed for days, navigating the labyrinthine tunnels, facing dangers both human and beast. They encountered gangs of scavengers, desperate for resources, and monstrous creatures warped by the city's pollution. Lyra proved to be a resourceful and skilled fighter, her knowledge of the tunnels invaluable. Kyrus, despite his wounds, fought with a fierce determination, driven by the hope of finding the library. They shared their stories, their hopes, and their fears. Kyrus learned of Lyra's past, her family lost to the Emperor's purges, her life reduced to scavenging for scraps. Lyra learned of Kyrus's scholarly past, his thirst for knowledge, his desire to build a better world. They found solace in each other's company, a bond forged in the fires of adversity. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they reached their destination. The entrance to the Whispering Library was hidden behind a false wall, concealed by an ancient mechanism. The wall slid open, revealing a passage that led into the darkness. They hesitated for a moment, then stepped inside. The Whispering Library was not what they expected. It wasn't a grand hall filled with towering shelves of books. It was a series of interconnected chambers, each filled with strange devices, glowing crystals, and intricate machinery. The air hummed with energy, a palpable sense of power. The knowledge was not stored in books, but in the very fabric of the library itself, imprinted on the walls, the machines, the crystals. As they explored the library, they discovered that it was not just a storehouse of knowledge, but also a powerful weapon. The machines could manipulate energy, create illusions, and even alter reality. Kyrus, with his scholarly background, was able to decipher some of the library's secrets, but its true potential remained shrouded in mystery. Their discovery didn't go unnoticed. Valerius, realizing that Kyrus had found the library, sent his elite guard, led by his ruthless general, Marius, to retrieve him and secure the library's power. He was everything that Kyrus despised. Marius and his guard stormed the library. Their weapons blazing, Kyrus and Lyra were caught off guard, forced to defend themselves against overwhelming odds. They used the library's defenses to their advantage, creating illusions, manipulating energy fields, and turning the environment against their attackers. But the Imperial Guard was relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. During the battle, Lyra was separated from Kyrus. She found herself trapped in a chamber filled with glowing crystals. She saw the rise and fall of empires, the birth and death of stars, the interconnectedness of all things. The knowledge overwhelmed her, transforming her, unlocking dormant abilities within her. She became more than just a scavenger. She became a conduit for the library's power. Meanwhile, Kyrus faced Marius in a final showdown. They fought with a ferocity that shook the library to its foundations. Kyrus, fueled by his anger and his desire for freedom, fought with a skill and determination he didn't know he possessed. He disarmed Kyrus, knocking him to the ground. Marius raised his sword, ready to deliver the final blow. "You cannot win, Kyrus," he said, his voice cold and merciless. "Valerius will crush you, and he will claim the power of this library." As Doshardaki, just as Marius was about to strike, Lyra appeared, her eyes glowing with an ethereal light. She unleashed a wave of energy, knocking Marius off his feet. The Imperial Guard faltered, their morale broken by Lyra's sudden display of power. Kyrus seized his opportunity. Marius fell, defeated the remaining Imperial Guard, seeing their leader fall, retreated in disarray. Valerius, witnessing the events through a magical scrying device, flew into a rage. He vowed to destroy Kyrus and Lyra and to claim the library's power for himself. But Kyrus and Lyra knew that they couldn't stay in the library. It was too dangerous. Valerius would eventually find a way to breach its defenses. They decided to use the library's knowledge to spread the seeds of rebellion throughout the empire. They became symbols of resistance, a beacon of light in the darkness. They knew that the fight would be long and arduous, but they were prepared. They had found something worth fighting for, not just their own freedom, but the freedom of all those who suffered under Valerius's tyrannical rule. They had found a purpose, a destiny. The Whispering Library had not just given them knowledge, it had given them hope, and hope was the most powerful weapon of all. Years passed. The rebellion grew, fueled by the knowledge and resources provided by Kyrus and Lyra. Finally, the rebel forces marched on the capital, led by Kyrus and Lyra. They faced Valerius's remaining forces in a final, decisive battle. The battle was fierce and bloody, but the rebels, united and determined, fought with a courage that surprised even themselves. Kyrus faced Valerius in a final duel, a clash of ideals and destinies. Kyrus, using the skills he had honed in the arena and the knowledge he had gained from the library, defeated Valerius, ending his reign of terror. Kadi. With Valerius defeated, the empire was plunged into chaos. They used the library's knowledge to rebuild the empire, to create a society based on justice, equality, and freedom. They established schools and libraries, promoting education and critical thinking. They dismantled the institutions of oppression, empowering the people and ensuring that no one would ever suffer the same fate as they had. The Whispering Library became a symbol of hope and enlightenment, a testament to the power of knowledge and the resilience of the human spirit. Kyrus and Lyra, once gladiators and scavengers, became the guardians of the library, ensuring that its secrets would be used for the benefit of all. Their journey had been long and arduous, filled with pain and sacrifice, but in the end, it had been worth it. They had proven that even in the darkest of times, hope can endure, and that even the most oppressed can rise up and change the world. Kyrus stood in the main chamber of the library, now filled with scholars and researchers from across the newly freed empire. Lyra stood beside him, her eyes filled with a quiet satisfaction. They had built a better world, a world where knowledge was valued, where freedom was cherished, and where hope was always within reach.